The massive chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Hundreds of alien representatives from across the galaxy sat in curved rows that reached up toward the distant ceiling. The room's dark walls glittered with countless small lights that looked like stars, making everyone feel like they were floating in space. At the center of all this, Admiral Rex stood tall. His gray skin reflected the blue light from the giant hologram floating above the council floor. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the image of a small spaceship. "This," he said, his deep voice carrying across the chamber, "is what our deep space sensors detected near the edge of Sector 7. He waved one of his 3-fingered hands, and the hologram spun slowly, showing the ship from all angles. "It appears to be a new species attempting to join our galactic community." Whispers filled the room. A new species was always big news. "How primitive," someone shouted from the upper rows. "Look at the size of their ship. It's barely larger than a cargo shuttle." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Admiral Rex smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Indeed. Our initial scans show their entire fleet consists of these miniature vessels." He changed the hologram to show multiple human ships. Next to them, he displayed one of the Council's standard cruisers. The size difference was striking. Each human ship was only a quarter the size of the alien vessel. In the shadows of the highest observation deck, Tom Miller watched silently. He looked human because he was human, but nobody knew that. His disguise was perfect. Gray skin, extra eyes, and longer fingers, all created by the best Earth technology. He had spent 3 years infiltrating the Council, working as a low-level data analyst. Now, he was witnessing exactly what Earth's intelligence service had feared. "The species calls themselves humans," Admiral Rex continued. "They have managed to achieve faster-than-light travel, which qualifies them for initial contact. However," he paused for effect, "I recommend we classify them as a Level 3 civilization, barely worth our attention." Miller's hand tightened on his datapad. He knew the truth about Earth's ships, but he couldn't say anything. Not yet. His job was to watch and report. A female council member raised her hand. "Have they attempted communication?" "Yes," Rex replied. "They have been broadcasting messages into space, asking to join the galactic community. Their technology is amusing. They seem to think smaller ships are better." More laughter filled the chamber. "They haven't even built a proper dreadnought. Their largest vessel is smaller than our smallest warship." Miller carefully recorded everything in his hidden communication device. Earth needed to know how the Council was reacting. He smiled slightly, knowing what the aliens didn't. Earth's ships were small by design, not by limitation. "I propose we send an assessment fleet," Rex said. "Standard procedure for new species. Though in this case, I doubt we'll find anything impressive." He changed the hologram again, showing the planned route to Earth. "We'll show them what real ships look like." The Council voted quickly. The decision to send an assessment fleet passed almost unanimously. As the chamber began to empty, Miller heard snippets of conversations around him. "Did you see those tiny ships? They must be so cramped inside. Probably can't even fit proper weapons on those things. Such a primitive design philosophy." Miller slipped away from the chamber and headed to his small office. Once alone, he activated his secure communication system. The message he sent to Earth was brief but clear. "Council underestimates US. Sending SES Amend Fleet. They mock our ship size. Recommend Operation SEM-AL Package begin." He deleted the message as soon as it's sent. Walking to his window, he looked out at the massive alien ships docked at the Council station. Each one was huge, impressive, and powerful. But Miller knew something they didn't. Sometimes, the smallest package contained the biggest surprise. The Council's mockery would end soon enough. All Earth had to do was wait for the right moment to show them why humans built small ships. And that moment was coming. 3 massive Council ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Each vessel was nearly 4 miles long, their dark metal hulls decorated with glowing blue lines that pulsed with power. They dwarfed everything around them, casting enormous shadows in the sunlight. Captain Reed of the Council's assessment fleet stood on his command bridge, looking at the holographic display of the human solar system. His second set of eyes blinked slowly as he studied the data coming in from their sensors. "Fascinating," he muttered. "They've colonized their entire system with these tiny vessels." The display showed dozens of human ships moving between the planets. None of them was larger than a Council supply ship. "Sir," his sensor officer called out, "we're detecting something unusual about their ships." "Unusual how?" "Their power readings. They're inconsistent with their size." Almost as if. A communication alert interrupted them. "Captain," the communication officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Put it through," Reed ordered, straightening his uniform. A human face appeared on the main screen. "This is Fleet Commander Wilson of the Earth Defense Force. Welcome to the Sol system." Reed noticed something odd about the human's expression. He didn't seem impressed or intimidated by the Council ships at all. In fact, he looked amused. "Commander Wilson," Reed replied, trying to sound important, "we are here to assess your civilization's readiness to join the Galactic Council. Our first observation is concerning. Your ships seem severely undersized." Wilson's smile grew slightly. "We believe in efficiency, Captain. Would you like a closer look at our vessels?" "Yes, that would be." Reed started, but stopped as a human ship suddenly appeared next to his flagship. He hadn't even seen it move. "How did?" "Our engines are quite responsive," Wilson said casually. "Shall we begin the assessment?" Over the next several hours, the Council fleet observed the human ships. Reed's crew recorded everything, growing more confused with each passing minute. The human vessels moved in ways that shouldn't be possible for their size. They changed direction instantly, accelerated at incredible speeds, and showed energy readings that made no sense. "Sir," his science officer reported, "their power output per cubic meter is 3 times higher than our best ships. But that's impossible with their technology level." Reed frowned. Something wasn't right. These humans were supposed to be primitive, yet their ships, despite their small size, showed signs of advanced engineering he'd never seen before. Back on the Galactic Council station, Tom Miller received the assessment fleet's preliminary report. He smiled as he read their confused observations. The Council's military experts were trying to understand how ships so small could perform so well. None of them had figured out the truth yet, that humans had discovered that smaller ships could be far more efficient than the massive vessels the Council preferred. The final report was presented to the Council 3 days later. Reed stood before them, looking uncomfortable. "The human ships," he began, "while unusually small, show some unexpected capabilities. However, their clear lack of proper military vessel size indicates they are not yet ready for full Council membership." Admiral Rex nodded in agreement. "Thank you, Captain. The evidence is clear. These humans, with their tiny toys, cannot possibly defend themselves against real threats. Their membership application is denied." The Council voted quickly, following Rex's recommendation. As the chamber emptied, Miller sent another encrypted message to Earth. "KONCL remains blind. Assessment complete. Application DNIED is expected. They still don't understand." The reply came quickly. "Excellent. Proceed with Phase 2. Miller watched the Council members leave, all of them confident in their superiority. None of them realized they had just made exactly the mistake Earth had hoped for. Sometimes, the best way to hide strength was to let others believe you were weak. As he walked back to his office, Miller thought about the old Earth saying, "Pride comes before a fall." The Council's pride was about to lead them into a very surprising lesson about human ingenuity. Admiral Jane Walker stood at the window of her office in Earth Fleet Command, looking out at the shipyards orbiting Earth. The massive space station stretched for miles, but the ships being built there were intentionally small and sleek. Each one was a masterpiece of human engineering, though the Galactic Council was too blind to see it. Her computer chimed with an incoming priority message. It was from their undercover agent, Tom Miller. As she read the Council's official rejection, her expression hardened. The message included recordings of Council members mocking Earth's fleet. "Look at their cute little boats. They're like children playing with toy ships. Do they even have room for weapons on those things?" Walker played the recordings 3 times, her anger growing with each replay. But it wasn't just anger. There was something else in her expression, something that looked almost like satisfaction. Her office door opened, and Fleet Commander Wilson walked in. He had just returned from meeting the Council's assessment fleet. "Did you see the report?" Walker asked, not turning from the window. Wilson nodded. "Yes, Admiral. They fell for it completely. Called our ships cute little boats right to my face." He smiled. If they only knew what these little boats could do. Walker finally turned around. "The Council has officially rejected our membership application, called us primitive and underdeveloped." She walked to her desk and pressed a button. A hologram appeared, showing Earth's latest ship design. It was quarter the size of a Council vessel that packed with technology that would make their jaws drop. "Did Miller's message mention anything else?" Wilson asked. "Yes," Walker replied, her smile growing. "The Council is spreading recordings of their mockery across their communication networks. They're making us look weak and primitive to every species in the galaxy." Wilson's eyes widened. "That's even better than we hoped for. The more they underestimate us, the more surprised they'll be," Walker finished. She pressed another button on her desk. "Send in the engineering team." 3 minutes later, Chief Engineer Robert Davis entered with his team. They had been waiting for this moment for months. "Time for Phase 2, Walker announced. "The Council thinks our ships are small because we can't build bigger ones. Let's request a military exercise demonstration." Davis grinned. "The new stealth systems are ready. They won't even see what hit them." "No weapons," Walker reminded him. "This is just a demonstration. We want to shock them, not start a war." She brought up another hologram, this one showing the planned demonstration area. It was a neutral space sector where military exercises were commonly held, perfect for showing the galaxy what human ships could really do. "How many ships should we send?" Wilson asked. Walker thought for a moment. "Just 3. The smaller the fleet, the bigger the impact when they see what we can do." She looked at each person in the room. "The Council thinks size equals power. They'd built their entire civilization around that idea. Their ships are huge because they don't know how to make them efficient. And we let them think we're the same," Davis added. "All those careful leaks about our struggling engineering teams." "Exactly," Walker said. "Now it's time to show them why humans build small ships. Send the request to the Council. Tell them Earth wishes to demonstrate its fleet capabilities in the spirit of cultural exchange." Miller's next report arrived an hour later. "KONCL laughing ATREQEST. They plan to BROADCASTDENOMONESTIRATION. To ESHOEVERA1 how primitive humans are." Walker read the message aloud to her team. The room filled with knowing smiles. The Council's pride was leading them exactly where Earth wanted them to go. "Send the confirmation," Walker ordered. "Tell them we'll be there in 1 week." She looked back at the shipyard through her window. It's time to show the galaxy that sometimes the smallest fleet can be the most dangerous. The trap was set. Now they just had to wait for the Council to walk right into it. Earth's orbital shipyards hummed with activity. 3 small warships floated in their docking bays, each one gleaming under the bright work lights. Engineers swarmed over them like busy ants, making final adjustments for the upcoming demonstration. Chief Engineer Davis stood in front of the first ship, the Swift. At just 300 meters long, it was tiny compared to the Council's massive vessels. But inside its sleek hull, It held technology that would change the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. "Run the power check again," Davis ordered, watching his tablet as numbers scrolled across it. The ship's compact fusion reactor spun up, its energy readings climbing rapidly. A young engineer ran up to him, holding a datapad. "Sir, the Council just released another broadcast about us. They're calling it the comedy show of the century." Davis smiled. "Perfect. How many species have signed up to watch?" "Over 40 alien civilizations will be observing the demonstration. The Council is promoting it as an example of why size matters in shipbuilding." In her office, Admiral Walker was reviewing the final plans with Commander Wilson. The holographic display between them showed their 3 ships, Swift, Shadow, and Storm. "Are the special modifications ready?" Walker asked. Wilson nodded. "The outer hull panels are designed to look crude and basic. When we activate the demonstration mode, they'll slide away to reveal our true capabilities." He pressed a button, and the hologram showed the transformation. "The Council's sensors have only been seeing what we want them to see." "And the crews?" "Handpicked. Each one has trained for 6 months just for this demonstration. They know exactly how to make the Council regret their mockery." Their conversation was interrupted by a message from Tom Miller. Grand EVENT. Expecting NT or TINMENT. Admiral REX personally invite military leaders from 20 top species. Walker's smile grew wider. "They're gathering all the important military leaders in one place to watch us. We couldn't have planned this better ourselves." In the engineering bay, Davis was running the final checks on the Shadow's stealth systems. The ship could bend light around itself, becoming nearly invisible. But more importantly, it could mask its power signature to look weak and primitive. Exactly what the Council expected. "Chief," one of his engineers called out, "the new inertial dampeners are installed. The crews can now handle turns at maximum acceleration without being crushed." Davis nodded approvingly. The Council's massive ships needed nearly a minute to turn around. His ships could do it in seconds. The aliens were about to learn why being small had advantages. Back in the Council space station, Tom Miller walked through the corridors, listening to the excited chatter around him. Everyone was talking about the upcoming human demonstration. "I heard their ships can barely reach light speed. This will be hilarious. Remember to record it. Maybe we should sell snacks during the show." Miller kept his face carefully neutral, but inside he was laughing. In just 3 days, these same aliens would be watching with their jaws dropped as human ships performed maneuvers their big, clumsy vessels could never match. In the final hours before departure, Admiral Walker gathered the crews of all 3 ships. They stood at attention in the main hangar, ready for their mission. "Remember," she told them, "we're not just showing off. We're changing the galaxy's understanding of what's possible. They think bigger is always better. We're going to prove that human ingenuity beats brute force every time." The crews saluted and headed to their ships. As they walked away, Walker turned to Wilson. "Send the final message to Miller," she ordered. "Tell him the small package is wrapped and ready for delivery." The 3 ships powered up their engines, their small size hiding the incredible power within. In 24 hours, they would reach the demonstration area. And then, the galaxy would learn why humans built small ships, and why that made them more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The observation deck of the Council's diplomatic station was packed with spectators. Representatives from over 40 alien species crowded around the massive viewing windows, pointing and laughing at the 3 small human ships that had just arrived. Admiral Rex stood at the front, his 4 eyes gleaming with amusement. Behind him, military leaders from 20 major species chatted and joked, treating this like an entertainment event rather than a military demonstration. "Look how crude their hull design is," one alien general said, pointing at the Swift. "You can even see the welding marks." Tom Miller stood quietly in the back, watching as more aliens poured in. The station had set up refreshment stands, and someone was taking bets on how badly the human ships would perform. In the command center of the Swift, Commander Wilson sat calmly in his chair. His crew worked quietly at their stations, ignoring the mocking transmissions coming from the observation station. "All ships report ready," his communications officer said. Wilson nodded. "Send the signal to Admiral Walker." On the Shadow, Admiral Walker received the message. "Begin Phase 1, she ordered. "Show them our primitive acceleration." The 3 human ships moved forward slowly, their engines giving off the weak energy signatures the Council had been detecting all along. The aliens in the observation deck laughed harder. "They move like cargo shuttles," someone shouted, generating more laughter. Admiral Rex stepped up to the communication panel. "Human vessels, you may begin your demonstration whenever you're ready." His tone was dripping with condescension. Walker smiled. "Now," she said quietly. In an instant, everything changed. The outer hull panels of all 3 ships slid away, revealing gleaming surfaces underneath. Before anyone could react, the Swift accelerated from 0 to light speed in less than a second, then stopped just as suddenly. The laughter in the observation deck died instantly. The Shadow vanished completely, its advanced stealth systems making it invisible to both eyes and sensors. It reappeared directly in front of the observation windows, causing several alien officials to stumble backward in shock. The Storm shot straight up, then performed a series of turns that should have been impossible for any ship to survive. It moved like a fighter jet in space, changing direction instantly without any sign of inertial effects. "Impossible," Admiral Rex whispered. "Ships that small can't have enough power for." The Swift demonstrated its speed again, this time creating a perfect circle around the entire diplomatic station in less than 3 seconds. The Shadow showed off its stealth technology, appearing and disappearing at will, each time in a different location. The Storm proved that its size allowed it to perform maneuvers that would tear larger ships apart. In the back of the observation deck, Miller recorded everything with his hidden devices. The aliens' reactions were priceless: shock, disbelief, and growing fear as they realized just how wrong they had been about human technology. "Their power readings," one alien scientist shouted, staring at his instruments. "They're higher than our largest dreadnoughts, but compressed into that small space." Admiral Walker's voice came over the public channel, calm and professional. "As you can see, we believe size has little to do with combat effectiveness. Our ships are small by design, not limitation." The Swift suddenly stopped in front of the observation deck. Its hull was cool and undamaged, showing no signs of stress from its incredible maneuvers. The Shadow appeared beside it, its stealth systems creating a ripple effect in space as they powered down. The Storm completed the formation, all 3 ships hovering silently in perfect formation. "This concludes today's demonstration," Walker announced. "We hope it has been educational." The observation deck was completely silent. Admiral Rex stared at the 3 small ships, his previous amusement replaced by something that looked very much like fear. He had just realized what everyone else in the room was thinking. If this was what 3 small human ships could do, what could an entire fleet of them accomplish? The Council's emergency meeting chamber was in chaos. Military experts from 20 species argued loudly, pointing at holographic replays of the human ship's demonstration. It had been 6 hours since the shocking display of Earth's true capabilities, and no one could explain what they had seen. "The power readings make no sense," one alien scientist shouted, waving his datapad. "Their reactors are putting out more energy per cubic meter than should be physically possible." Admiral Rex sat silently at the head of the table, watching the recordings for the 100th time. The Swift's incredible speed, the Shadow's perfect stealth, the Storm's impossible maneuvers. Each ship had shown abilities that the Council had thought impossible for vessels of their size. A technical expert from the Council's most advanced species stood up. "We've analyzed their hull design. The outer layer we saw before was fake. just a cover to hide their true technology. The real hull is made of materials we've never seen before. But how? Rex finally spoke. How did they develop this technology without us noticing? At that moment, Tom Miller walked into the chamber. But he wasn't wearing his alien disguise anymore. He stood tall in a crisp Earth Fleet uniform, a small smile on his human face. The room fell silent. Because, Miller said calmly, you were too busy laughing at our tiny ships to look closely at them. Rex's 4 eyes widened in shock. You're human. Intelligence Officer Thomas Miller, Earth Fleet Command. He replied with a slight bow. I've been gathering data on Council technology for 3 years. Though honestly, you made it easy. No one pays attention to a junior data analyst, especially one from a primitive species. The chamber erupted again, but Miller raised his hand for silence. Admiral Walker has authorized me to explain a few things, now that you've seen what our ships can do. He walked to the central display and brought up a comparison between Council ships and Earth vessels. You build massive ships because you think bigger means better. But larger ships need more power to move, more crew to operate, and more time to change direction. We discovered that smaller ships could be far more efficient. He showed them diagrams of the human ship's inner workings. Our compact fusion reactors produce more power because they're designed to work with gravity fields, not against them. Our small ships can turn faster because there's less mass to move. And our crews are smaller because we embraced automation instead of fearing it. The alien experts studied the diagrams with growing amazement. Everything the humans had done was obvious in hindsight. They had simply approached spaceship design from a completely different perspective. But your ships are so small, one alien admiral protested weakly. How can they carry enough weapons to? Miller laughed. Who said anything about weapons? Today's demonstration didn't include any of our combat capabilities. Those 3 ships were just training vessels. The silence in the room grew deeper. If these were just training ships. Earth Fleet Command has asked me to deliver a message, Miller continued. We still want to join the Galactic Council. Not because we need to, but because we believe in cooperation over conflict. However, his smile turned serious. We expect to be treated with respect. Admiral Rex stood up slowly. The human ships had completely changed his understanding of what was possible. If Earth's entire fleet had these capabilities, I will personally recommend Earth's immediate acceptance into the Council, he announced, with full military standing. Miller nodded. Thank you, Admiral. Oh, and one more thing. He pointed to the display showing the 3 human ships. Remember, what you saw today was just a small demonstration. A very small demonstration. He left the chamber quietly, leaving behind a room full of aliens who were suddenly very grateful that humans had chosen to seek friendship rather than conflict. After all, if 3 small ships could do this much, the galaxy would never underestimate human ingenuity again. 1 week after the demonstration, the main chamber of the Galactic Council looked very different. The laughter and mockery were gone, replaced by respectful silence as Admiral Walker stood at the center. Behind her, through the chamber's massive windows, the 3 human ships, Swift, Shadow, and Storm, floated in formation. In light of recent events, the Council President announced, "We are gathered here to formally welcome Earth into the Galactic Council." With full military honors, Admiral Rex stepped forward, looking quite different from the arrogant officer who had dismissed human ships as toys. I personally moved to grant Earth immediate Level 1 civilization status, with all associated rights and privileges. The vote was unanimous. Not a single species opposed Earth's membership. In her office back on Earth, Commander Wilson watched the ceremony through a secure feed. Chief Engineer Davis stood beside him, both men smiling as they saw their months of planning pay off. "Should we tell them about the new ships?" Davis asked quietly. Wilson shook his head. "Not yet. Let them worry about what else we might have hidden." He looked out at Earth's shipyards, where dozens of small, advanced vessels were under construction. Sometimes the best defense is letting others imagine how dangerous you might be. Back in the council chamber, Walker accepted the formal membership documents. Earth thanks the council for this recognition, she said diplomatically. We look forward to sharing our technological insights with our new allies. Several alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had spent the past week analyzing the demonstration data, and each new discovery had shocked them more. The humans hadn't just matched council technology. They had surpassed it in several key areas. Tom Miller, now openly serving as Earth's intelligence liaison, stood at the back of the chamber. He caught fragments of worried conversations among the alien representatives. Their entire fleet must be like this. How many ships do they have? What else are they hiding? Miller smiled. The Council's overconfidence had given Earth exactly the opening they needed. By underestimating humans, they had allowed Earth to develop its technology in secret, free from interference or espionage. Admiral Walker continued her speech. As a gesture of goodwill, Earth will be hosting a technology exchange conference next month. We believe that by working together, we can all advance further than we could alone. The alien representatives nodded eagerly. They all wanted to learn the secrets of human ship design. But Walker's next words made them pause. Of course, she added casually, we'll expect equal sharing of technological advances. After all, we're equals now, aren't we? The message was clear. The days of treating humans as primitive were over. After the ceremony, Admiral Rex approached Walker privately. I must ask, those 3 ships, they weren't really just training vessels, were they? Walker's smile was diplomatic but mysterious. Admiral, do you really want me to answer that question? Rex thought for a moment, then shook his head. No, I suppose not. Better to let us wonder. As the council session ended, Miller sent his final report to Earth Fleet Command. Mission accomplished. Council acceptance complete. They FER our sim-AL ships, more than they EVR FERED, they're big ones. The reply came quickly. Excellent work. Phase 3 begins now. Miller looked out at the 3 human ships floating in space. They seemed so small against the massive council station, but now everyone knew that size meant nothing. Humans had proven that intelligence, efficiency, and innovation were more powerful than brute force and massive ships. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never judge a species by the size of their ships, especially when those ships are human. And somewhere in the vast shipyards of Earth, new vessels were being built, small, advanced, and more capable than anything the Council had ever seen. The age of the massive warship was over. The era of human innovation had begun.